The ancient roots of conflict. The enduring conflict between Jews and Arabs, as well as the tensions among Muslim nations, is one of the most complex and persistent issues in modern history. To understand its origins, we must travel back thousands of years to two pivotal biblical figures, Isaac and Ishmael. These two brothers, sons of Abraham, are central to the narrative of the Jewish and Arab peoples. According to tradition, Isaac became the patriarch of the Jewish people, while Ishmael is considered the ancestor of the Arab and Muslim peoples. The Bible records a sibling rivalry between them, a conflict that mirrors the struggles we see today between Israel and parts of the Muslim world. Remarkably, the Bible not only explains the roots of this divide but also offers a glimpse of its resolution, a moment of reconciliation that scholars believe foreshadows how this modern conflict may one day end. The ancient Jewish principle of Ma'aseh Avot Siman Labanim, meaning the deeds of the fathers are signs for their children, suggests that the lives of biblical patriarchs prophetically reflect the future of their descendants. However, the prophecy's darker side, living in hostility toward all his brothers, has also proven true. The history of the Islamic world is marked by internal divisions, such as the Sunni-Shia schism, which has fueled conflicts like those in Syria and Yemen. These struggles echo the biblical warning of strife, not only with external foes, but also among Ishmael's own descendants. The prophecy also hints at the deeper tension with Israel, a conflict rooted in the arrival of another son who would shift the course of Abraham's legacy. Years later, when Abraham was 99 and Sarah 90, three mysterious visitors arrived at their tent. As Abraham offered hospitality, one visitor delivered astonishing news. "I will surely return to you, and Sarah, your wife, will have a son." Genesis 18:10. Sarah, overhearing from inside the tent, laughed not in joy but in bitter disbelief. She had long abandoned hope of bearing a child. Abraham, too, was stunned, and his first thought was for Ishmael, his beloved son. He pleaded with God, "If only Ishmael might live under your blessing." Genesis 17:18. This heartfelt cry revealed Abraham's deep love for his firstborn and his fear of the conflict that loomed with the birth of another heir. Despite Sarah's skepticism and Abraham's concern, God fulfilled his promise. Sarah gave birth to a son, named Isaac, meaning he will laugh, a nod to the incredulous laughter of his parents. For a time, joy filled the camp, but tension soon emerged. The birth of Isaac, the child of divine promise, threatened Ishmael's position as Abraham's heir. This set the stage for a confrontation that would deepen the divide between the brothers and their descendants. The conflict erupts. The simmering tension between Sarah and Hagar exploded during a celebration for Isaac's weaning. Sarah observed Ishmael mocking Isaac, a term in Hebrew that shares the root of Isaac's name, suggesting more than playful teasing. Ishmael, the firstborn, was challenging Isaac's place as heir, asserting his own claim to Abraham's legacy. For Sarah, this was intolerable. She demanded of Abraham, "Get rid of that slave woman and her son, for that woman's son will never share in the inheritance with my son Isaac." Genesis 21:10. This harsh command broke Abraham's heart as he loved Ishmael deeply. God, however, instructed Abraham to heed Sarah's demand, assuring him that Ishmael would not be abandoned. "I will make the son of the slave into a nation also, because he is your offspring." Genesis 21:13. Reluctantly, Abraham obeyed, providing Hagar and Ishmael with bread and water and sending them into the desert. This painful separation marked a physical and spiritual divide, one that resonates in the historical wounds of both peoples. For many Muslims and Palestinians, the establishment of Israel in 1948 and the resulting displacement, known as the Nakba catastrophe, echoes this expulsion, just as Ishmael lost his place in Abraham's household. The Nakba is seen as a loss of identity and homeland. In the desert, Hagar and Ishmael faced death from thirst. But God intervened. An angel revealed a well of water, saving their lives and reaffirming the promise, "I will make him into a great nation." Genesis 21:18. Ishmael's descendants flourished, becoming 12 princes, paralleling the 12 tribes of Israel descended from Isaac's son, Jacob. The Arab peoples grew into great empires, their culture and influence spreading across the world, fulfilling God's promise of earthly greatness for Ishmael. Yet, the spiritual covenant, the sacred relationship with God, remained with Isaac, setting the stage for a deeper theological divide. The covenant and divine election. The distinction between Isaac and Ishmael lies in the concept of the covenant, a binding, sacred relationship between God and his chosen people. God declared to Abraham, "Your wife Sarah will bear you a son, and you will call him Isaac. I will establish my covenant with him as an everlasting covenant for his descendants after him." Genesis 17:19. Later, God reaffirmed, "It is through Isaac that your offspring will be reckoned." Genesis 21:12. This divine choice was not based on human merit or birth order, but on God's sovereign will. Ishmael, born of human effort through Hagar, received blessings of worldly greatness, while Isaac, born miraculously to Sarah, inherited the spiritual covenant. This concept of divine election has been central to Jewish identity, a source of pride and resilience, but also a cause of conflict with those who reject it. Ishmael, though not the covenant heir, was not forsaken. God promised, "As for Ishmael, I have heard you. I will surely bless him and make him into a great nation." Genesis 17:20. This promise was fulfilled as Ishmael's descendants grew into powerful nations, their legacy evident in the Arab world's historical and cultural achievements. The differing roles of Isaac and Ishmael also manifest in the sacred texts of Judaism and Islam. The Bible centers on Isaac as the heir of the covenant, while Islamic tradition elevates Ishmael's significance, claiming he, not Isaac, was the son Abraham was commanded to sacrifice. This pivotal story, Abraham's test of faith, highlights the competing narratives. In the Bible, God asks Abraham to sacrifice Isaac, sealing the covenant through his obedience. Genesis 22. In Islam, the Quran does not name the son, but later scholars identify him as Ishmael, positioning him as the spiritual heir and linking his lineage to the Prophet Muhammad and the founding of Mecca. This divergence fuels the theological and historical rivalry over who carries Abraham's true sacred sites and competing narratives. The struggle between Isaac and Ishmael's descendants is vividly illustrated in the battle over sacred sites, particularly in Jerusalem. The Temple Mount, Judaism's holiest site, is believed to be the location of the foundation stone, where Adam was created. Abraham prepared to sacrifice Isaac, and Solomon's temple once stood. For Muslims, this same spot, within the dome of the rock, is where Muhammad ascended to heaven during his night journey. The Western Wall, a retaining wall of the Temple Mount, is Judaism's closest point for prayer to the ancient temple, while Muslims call it the Burak Wall, where Muhammad tethered his winged steed. These overlapping claims transform physical spaces into symbols of competing histories. This contest over sacred ground reflects the deeper struggle to define the true narrative of Abraham's legacy. For Jews, the covenant through Isaac establishes their spiritual priority, while Muslims view Ishmael's role as evidence of their divine favor. The control of Jerusalem becomes not just a territorial dispute, but a battle for historical and religious legitimacy. This tension is Paul writes, Christ is our peace, who has made the two one and has destroyed the barrier, the dividing wall of hostility. Ephesians 2:14. In this view, Jesus transcends the rivalry between Isaac and Ishmael, creating a new spiritual family where ethnic and religious identities are secondary to faith in him. This new identity does not erase Jewish or Arab heritage, but unites believers as children of God. This reconciliation unfolds in two stages. First, it begins in the present, as seen in communities where Jewish and Arab Christians worship together, overcoming historical divisions. Second, it awaits a future fulfillment with Jesus' return, when he will establish lasting peace. As prophesied in Isaiah, the wolf will live with the lamb, and they will neither harm nor destroy on all my holy mountain. Isaiah 11:6-9. Jesus is teaching to love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you. Matthew 5:44. Challenges. The cycle of hostility, offering a radical path to peace. The role of prophecy. The biblical narrative of Isaac and Ishmael is rich with prophetic significance, particularly in the concept of typology, where their story foreshadows future events. The prophecy of Ishmael as a wild donkey captures both his descendants' resilience and their propensity for conflict, seen in the historical struggles within the Islamic world and with Israel. Conversely, Isaac's role as the covenant heir underscores the Jewish people's enduring spiritual identity, despite centuries of persecution. Prophecies like Isaiah's Prince of Peace, Isaiah 9:6 point to a future where divisions are healed. This messianic hope, central to Christianity, envisions a world where the enmity between Isaac and Ishmael's descendants is resolved not through human effort but divine intervention. The Abraham Accords, while a human initiative, echo this prophetic vision by invoking a shared heritage, suggesting that small steps toward peace align with the biblical promise of reconciliation. Historical echoes of division. The historical trajectory of Isaac and Ishmael's descendants reflects the biblical prophecy. The Jewish people, through Isaac, faced exile, persecution, and the Holocaust, yet maintained their covenant identity. The Arab peoples, through Ishmael, built great civilizations, from the Umayyad and Abbasid empires to modern nations, fulfilling God's promise of greatness. Yet, internal divisions, such as the Sunni-Shia split, and external conflicts, particularly with Israel, mirror the hostility toward all his brothers foretold in Genesis. The 1948 establishment of Israel intensified these tensions, with the Nakba echoing Hagar and Ishmael's expulsion. For Palestinians, this event represents a loss of homeland akin to Ishmael's displacement. Meanwhile, radical voices, like those citing the Hadith about the final conflict, perpetuate the narrative of existential struggle. These historical echoes underscore the need for a solution beyond politics, one rooted in the spiritual reconciliation hinted at in Abraham's burial. The power of shared heritage. The Abraham Accords represent a modern attempt to bridge the divide, invoking the shared fatherhood of Abraham. This diplomatic breakthrough, involving nations like Morocco and Sudan alongside the UAE and Bahrain, emphasizes economic and cultural cooperation over conflict. By naming these agreements after Abraham, they acknowledge the common origin of Jews and Arabs, suggesting that mutual recognition can pave the way for peace. This approach aligns with the biblical scene of Isaac and Ishmael's reunion at Abraham's burial. Their act of unity, despite past pain, serves as a model for modern reconciliation efforts. Grassroots initiatives, such as interfaith dialogues and joint Jewish-Muslim community projects, further embody this spirit, showing that acknowledging shared heritage can begin to heal historical wounds. The spiritual divide. The theological differences between Judaism, Islam, and Christianity deepen the Isaac-Ishmael divide. Judaism emphasizes Isaac's covenant, rooted in the Torah's account of his near sacrifice. Islam, through the Quran and later traditions, elevates Ishmael, linking him to Mecca and Muhammad's lineage. Christianity, however, sees Jesus as the fulfillment of the covenant, transcending both lines to unite all peoples. These competing narratives fuel the struggle over sacred sites and historical legitimacy. Yet, the Bible's emphasis on God's care for both sons offers hope. Ishmael's blessing, though distinct from the covenant, was never revoked. This dual promise suggests that divine favor is not a zero-sum game, encouraging both peoples to seek coexistence rather than supremacy. The role of forgiveness. Forgiveness is a recurring theme in the biblical narrative and a potential key to resolving the conflict. Abraham's anguish over sending Ishmael away reflects the pain of division, yet his obedience to God's command shows trust in divine justice. Similarly, Ishmael's willingness to honor Isaac at Abraham's burial suggests a humility that transcends rivalry. In modern terms, forgiveness could manifest in mutual acknowledgement of historical grievances, such as the Nakba and the Holocaust, fostering empathy between Jews and Arabs. Christianity's emphasis on loving enemies provides a framework for this forgiveness, challenging both sides to break the cycle of retribution. Small acts of reconciliation, like joint cultural festivals or shared educational initiatives, demonstrate that forgiveness is possible when rooted in mutual respect. The future of peace. The Bible's vision of peace culminates in the messianic hope of a renewed world. Prophecies like Isaiah's Prince of Peace and the vision of the wolf dwelling with the lamb point to a future where divisions are healed. For Christians, this is realized through Jesus' return, creating a new humanity where Isaac and Ishmael's descendants are united. In the interim, human efforts like the Abraham Accords and interfaith initiatives lay the groundwork for this vision. The mystical unity of Kabbalah and Sufism further supports this hope, showing that spiritual commonalities can bridge divides by focusing on shared values, love for God, compassion, and justice. Jews and Muslims can move toward a future where their shared heritage overcomes historical enmity. A call to reflection. The story of Isaac and Ishmael challenges us to reflect on the paths forward. Continued conflict or reconciliation at Abraham's tomb. The Bible's narrative, coupled with modern examples like the Abraham Accords, suggests that peace is possible when both sides recognize their shared origin. Christianity's vision of Jesus as the reconciler offers a spiritual framework for unity, while mystical traditions highlight the universal quest for God. Which path will Abraham's children choose? The desert of hostility or the unity of their father's burial? The answer lies not only in diplomacy or theology, but in the hearts of individuals willing to embrace forgiveness and mutual respect. As we ponder this ancient story, we are invited to consider how our actions today can shape a future of peace for Isaac and Ishmael's descendants.